Dismal.
Thank you, Chair. Since the prospect of leaving the EU without a deal threatened over a year ago, City Hall and the London Resilience Forum have been planning for the event of a no-deal Brexit. This has been seriously hindered by the government's unwillingness to share information. Yellowhammer was only released as a result of a leak. It makes for grim reading in itself, but there is still a lot of information the government won't share. We don't have any of the detail underlying the plan and assumptions, and we don't know what plans the government has to mitigate the problems it has identified. In this culture of secrecy, agencies have spoken out publicly. Last week, the chair of the British Medical Council said there is no sign of who is going to provide emergency transport service for critical medicines and medical supplies or extra freight capacity to guarantee patients can continue to get drugs they need in the event of a no deal. Numerous reports illustrate how a no deal will particularly affect the vulnerable, with price rises in essential goods pushing more people into poverty. We've asked for assurances that the government will provide hardship funds, but none has been forthcoming. Last month, I met Michael Gove to try and unlock this issue. He committed to help, and the restrictions placed on some key planning documents have now been loosened. This is welcome, but with 14 days to go, we desperately need more information from the government. Despite these difficulties, we continue to plan as well as we can, and last week I convened a mayoral advisory group bringing together key agencies to discuss the potential impacts of a no-deal Brexit on London. And from Monday, we will have strategic coordination groups meeting twice a week with the option of scaling these up to daily if required.
Thank you for that. Would you agree, therefore, that the Operation Yellowhammer document is remarkable for what it doesn't cover? Do you consider it provides enough information for local resilience forums to make contingency plans? Bear in mind that there are other ornithologically named government papers about no deal which have been kept secret, such as Operation Kingfisher, about the impact on business, which was recently leaked to the Sunday Times, and states that only businesses for which distress or loss of investment would be economically critical would be given extra support, so that only the largest businesses will be eligible for government help. And according to an internal Cabinet Office report last month, only 37% of small and medium-sized enterprises have made sufficient, or in some cases any, preparations for no-deal Brexit. Shouldn't this Operation Kingfisher paper also be published?
Absolutely. Look, let's park for a second the difference in views between the government and myself in relation to the merits and demerits of Brexit. You can park there. The key thing is to make sure we're as ready as we can be for the possible consequences. And so what I've said to the government through Michael Gove is, look, there needs to be a spirit of cooperation in relation to making sure the key agencies can prepare as well as they can do, and that includes businesses in relation to fresh produce, to make sure we mitigate against any possible consequence. That's why it's really important for them to share the information with us.
And then there's the Operation Snow Bunting paper about the police response, also not published. The ministers are reported to have voiced concerns that overstretched police officers from the cities will be sent to help transport problems affecting the Channel ports. Nearly one cabinet source is reported as saying, quote, "I can't believe we're planning to take officers off the street at a time of not rising knife crime." There's also plans to deploy police in and around supermarkets for fear of panic buying for food, causing chaos. And then, as has been mentioned, on Tuesday we heard from Deputy Commissioner Sir Stephen House, who confirmed at the PCC that key crime-fighting tools would be lost, their replacements would not be as effective, and he explained in detail why we would be left safe as a result.
So clearly somebody in government is a keen bird watcher. We've got Yellowhammer, Kingfisher, Snow Bunting, Black Swan. What's clear is, let's assume for a second there are operational sensitivities why this information can't be released to the public. They should at least be shared with the agencies, the police and the authorities. They haven't been. And the problem is the government's working in silos, and sometimes some departments don't know what the other department knows. And what I say to the government is, look, like I said, park the differences we've got. Let's try and work together to make sure we address some of the concerns that you've articulated. And by the way, these are from the leaks. So we know the government's made underlying assumptions, planning assumptions. Work with us to make sure we can do what we can to mitigate the worst excesses of a no-deal Brexit.
And the other secret paper we know about is Operation Black Swan, apparently setting out the worst-case scenario about events that come as a surprise and could have huge repercussions. Isn't this the most important of all, and shouldn't this be published? And if there is a second referendum, which, like you, I hope there is, shouldn't the public have the full picture, including what is contained in all these and any other ornithologically named documents?
Well, absolutely. I think what the public should be given is all the facts, all the information. We now know, not in abstract terms, what leaving the EU would mean, but actually what it means in reality. So now we know what leaving the EU means, the terms of exit, the consequences. We can decide to accept that path, or we can decide to remain in the European Union, imperfect as it is.